So a couple things. Um, I know this time doesn't work well for everyone, and so I'm gonna start trying to record these meetings and post them to an AXP YouTube channel. So if people aren't able to make it to these meetings, they can at least kind of watch it to catch up. At least like little, 15, 20, 25-minute updates that we're gonna have at the beginning. And if we go in and work on something as a team afterwards, I probably won't record that. But we can get started here. I can figure out how to share my screen. So the obligatory Ryan head on the front cover.
That's the
John,
question.
yeah, we're gonna need John to start trying to find more pictures of Ryan as we go on. Or
Hey man, I reached out to him, but he didn't have any more. He's
Wait,
not super.
can I ask a question though?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Other pictures of Ryan exist. Why is this the one we're using?
It's a one on the slide that got, or the slideshow that got like marked as a duplicate, or not a template, not duplicate. All that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But if we do get access to his email for the rock block, I guess, I don't know if you guys heard about that, but Sam got the rock block working and everything. And we had to like, and the internals move where a cable was routed. It was really janky, but we got it working. And we cannot change the email that the data gets sent to. So we're either going to have to work with Ryan to get some sort of email forwarding set up, or maybe get access to his email, or just maybe don't use the email functionality through the rock block and go from there. But if we do get access to his email, we might have to like do a quick like deep save and look for any pictures. And by that, I mean not doing that, but we'll see. But yeah, so we probably don't need an icebreaker since we do know each other a little bit better now than we used to. But just a note here to make sure that I record the future. So really, this week's aerospace officers meeting was not very eventful. The only big thing that really happened, which was actually kind of big, they're really cracking down on members that haven't done their dues and haven't done their membership requirements yet. So as of now, officially, as of like Thursday morning, if you haven't done your dues and your safety trainings, all of that, you aren't allowed to be in the lab. So we might be a little like questionable how we enforce that at first. But the point is, if you guys haven't done all those dues, please reach out to me and kind of help me understand the plan, and if you need any help to get these things done, so that we don't have Stephanie getting mad at all of us if we don't have everyone have those things done. And I think I mentioned this last week, but we have $3,000 from ESAB for the fall softs. We asked for $5,000, but we were pretty lucky to get this much. And we have already started purchasing things, at least for electrical. We've got a few things.
One thing, Joel, I was going to add.
Absolutely.
The last part about the membership stuff is if you're not sure if you've done it or not, Stephanie posted a list of people who have not done it in Slack.
Yeah. Was that just in officers or was that in general?
I thought that was in general.
I don't know.
It's in general, right?
Can anyone back that up?
Yeah, it is in general.
Okay, that's good. And I think I've messaged, if you don't have those dues, I think I've messaged you and just talked a little bit about that. But moving on to the next little bit, as far as logos go, MJ has been doing some great work putting together some nice drawings, and I know she's not done with them, but she sent she's been talking to John and I a little bit about that to just see a little bit of what we think looks good or not, and I think she'll might have some things to ask us in upcoming meetings, but here's just some preliminary like previews of things going on. and I won't show it for too long because they are not done yet, but just a little preview of what we have coming up pretty soon. This week we did have another EBI meeting. I wasn't able to make it to that. Does someone want to give an update?
Yeah, sure. We basically just ran through our PDR outline with them. Like we could get feedback on things that we needed to add, and they gave us a lot of helpful feedback. So I think later when we work on the PDR, all those changes to the outline are made.
Awesome. That's great. And I guess, John, do you also want to say something about the Big Red CubeSat AIAA YPSE jumble of letters?
So the AIAA YPSE Jumble of Letters conference was yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday. I don't know time anymore. And Joel and I and Elsa and Robert, who are, if you don't know, two of the kids that have been really doing a lot of good work on the CubeSat team, we, us four, presented to the AIAA YPSE Jumble of Letters conference, and just kind of talked about like our project so far and our payload and our plans going forward. And we didn't win anything, but it was still a good practice to present our ideas in front of people.
Certainly. And hopefully going forward, we're going to have everyone be able to do stuff like that and have like a dozen presenters at these meetings. But that's for the future. And then just, standard thing to go over, the Big Red CubeSat team meeting is every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And this week we're going to be going over, I guess we might not be going over the proposal really anymore because we're going to be pretty tight on time, but we're going to be going over kind of the next stage of the PDR that we're going to be, that we have put together, and then presenting to Beth, or some members of the USIP team, as well as the NASA mentors who actually mentored the USIP team through Nebraska. And then the following Saturday, that's going to be our official PDR at the SAC Museum with Kennedy Space Center zoomed into us. And then I included this for perovskite details. I don't know who all is on the call still, but John and Michael, I think you two have the most experience with perovskites. Do you guys want to talk about it a little bit high level and then go into a little bit of the details for people who haven't been to those Saturday meetings yet?
John, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I think you can go first.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I was just eating peanuts. My mouth is really dry. So overall, just kind of, if is there anyone here who has no idea what we're talking about when we're referring to the perovskites?
I have no idea.
Okay, so the perovskites, they are a very new technology. They're a very new and very efficient type of solar cell that can. So right now with Thor's solar panels, the main thing that's very common is silicon panels, and that's what you have with everything. If you see a solar panel somewhere, it is 99% likely to be made of silicon, or at least to have that as the main acting agent. Perovskites are a very new kind of solar cell, and they're very special in the way they're made and just the way they work as opposed to silicon. But the important part is that they can reach really, really high efficiencies, as high as 25%, which is very, very high just for a solar panel in general. And then if you look at a timeline of like for example, silicon didn't reach that percentage until it was already being used for like 30 or 35 years. Perovskite got there after 2 years of research. So right now, about the highest you can get is 25%. But what makes these especially special is that in the way they're built, when you take the base chemicals and you make this thing, it's less of putting a bunch of pieces together on a circuit board. And it's a lot of chemistry. So when you make it, it's actually a solution. It's a liquid solution, and then you dry it onto a plate. And then after you bake it, essentially, then you have a solar panel. And so what I did was I put together a shopping list of like the chemicals you need to actually make this from scratch if we were to manufacture these our own. Also, so these are going to be going up with our CubeSat project as the main what's the word, John? As the main payload. I lost that word for a second. As the main payload, we'll be comparing these to regular silicon solar panels. So we'll have 2 solar panels on board, both acting as one unit, I guess 2 units, but together. So half perovskite, half silicon. So long story short, we need a perovskite solar cell. So I put together a shopping list of how much stuff we need to actually buy it or to actually make it ourselves. Remember, it's going to be inside a CubeSat, right? Which is a 10 centimeter cube, right? So it's not going to be big, like this big, maybe, I would imagine. To make a 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter panel, which is what the research papers I've been reading have been working with. If we were to buy the materials we need just off the internet in the smallest quantities available, it would cost $527.78, and we would end up with literally hundreds of pounds of material. Yeah, that sounds right. Whatever. It doesn't matter because we're not doing that. So I've been talking to people in the chemistry department to see if we were to actually produce these ourselves, what of these chemicals can we actually get from the university at either a lower price or at least a lower quantity, which will lower the price in that way. But we might actually be able to get some of them free too, because it is a research experiment. I don't have any definite answers on whether or not we can get this stuff from the university. All I basically heard is, yeah, you probably can, but let me check with the guy above me. So I'm still kind of working my process through. I'm kind of still working my way through the chemistry department, seeing if I can do that or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So again, my focus has been on manufacturing these things. John, is there anything you want to kind of throw in?
I think you did a pretty good job of explaining it. More just like specifically what we'll be measuring is we're thinking about doing like a half and half array. So our solar array will be like half normal solar panels and perovskite solar panels. So that way we'll be able to really measure like we'll have a control basically. So we'll be able to do a lot of really good science just comparing the 2 types. And then we can measure like the power output. And like I'm doing research also on like how to measure light intensity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys for covering that. Just one last thing I kind of have to add. One of the places that they thought this might be able to be used is when you are going around, like when you're orbiting the Earth, you are in an eclipse on the backside, and so you don't have exposure to sunlight. But these perovskites can potentially actually generate electricity from the reflection of the sun on like the moon, and so it could make it a lot easier for certain satellites to survive, because batteries tend to be a source of failure for satellites.
Especially with CubeSats, it's like 78% of them, or whatever that number is, fail because they run out of power.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, so.
Well, I guess thanks guys for the update. Does anyone have any questions about the perovskites before we move on? Okay, sounds good. I guess so for the mechanical team, do you guys want to give an update? This is what you guys had on last week. Have you been able to do an integration test and a strength test yet?
No, not yet, because we're like kind of waiting on CAD stuff. Like, who do we have right now?
I'll have my CAD stuff done by the meeting tomorrow. I haven't had time to work on it, but I will have time tonight or tomorrow.
Nick,
sure.
Once you get the stuff done, make sure to send me the files that we're going to be printing, then I can get them all printed.
Sure.
Yeah. And then I think I have a couple for you to print too, Michael. And then, yeah, when the other Nick gets the stuff done, then we can have everything printed, and then hopefully next week we can do strength and integration test. Yeah. Also, we might need to do a thermal test tomorrow. Like we could, I don't know. I think it'd be nice to just run a brief thermal test to see if, like Mikey, what's the status of that temperature control circuit?
I'm just gonna ask Joel about that.
Yeah, actually, Michael kind of handed it off to the electrical team, and we've
Okay.
been trying a few things. Henderson has been a lot of help there because he knows a bit more than we do. But and I saw you sent me a message earlier today, Henderson, but I haven't gotten a chance to really look into it much. Do you want to give a little bit of an update about that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Or for the circuit, I looked more into the common emitter amplifier that we had as kind of the first draft circuit, in which it doesn't really work. I mean, it works great as an AC amplifier, but it really doesn't like DC. At first, I thought maybe we could use like a square wave, or maybe just maybe like a 555 timer to try and get a pulse width modulation in order to get it to work. But whenever I tried to or simulate it, it would essentially either clip or it'd give out only around, I think, about 10 volts of DC power would only get through the system. So I sent you earlier. It was on my laptop, so sadly I don't have it right now. Since I am at my desktop, I sent you a circuit that interesting circuit that I found on Roman Black was the website, and I tweaked the number. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I tweaked the numbers a bit on the capacitors and resistors, and that gave out from a 7-volt source supplying 60 milliamps of current. It gave out the numbers that we needed. So I'm not sure what the size per se this circuit really needs to be, or how small it needs to be. Considering that this circuit does require two diodes and 40 micro Henry inductor. Oh yeah, right there, L1, in which that is a relatively small piece since it's in the micro Henrys. But yeah, it's I tried working through some of the math, in which it's kind of a complex circuit, and it kind of confuzzles me in a few ways. But on multisim, simulating it works great.
Awesome. Well, that's good that we're making progress on that. I guess a question I have for that, if we were to, or we'll talk about that a little bit more after the meeting maybe, but at least for the mechanical team wrapping up the slide, is there anything else that you want to add on to here for tomorrow or for next week?
I mean, I guess just if that circuit isn't like completely built yet, then what we might do for the thermal test is just the idea of like heating it up and then putting it in with the dry ice and just kind of letting it wind down quite a bit.
Yeah, electrical pretty soon is going to have like a model that we can stick in there, maybe not with all the thermals attached, but at least with a lot of the components that will be generate a little bit of heat. So we get a little bit better numbers there.
Cool.
For electrical things, getting GitLabs up and running, that's kind of not exactly on our radar right now, as we're working a lot more on the integration and the hardware side of things right now. But for Icarus right now, we've been working on sensor integration. We cannot have everything planned out right now. We just need to do a little bit of soldering and figure out how to integrate the rock block, since Sam does finally have it working, with the rest of the sensors, and figure out how we're making our data stream. And then for Nyet and Da, XVs are looking less and less promising every day. That might be something that actually gets accomplished over the summer, and instead we just get the pictures at the end of the flight instead. But I guess, Carly, you've mainly been working on that. Do you have any updates on if you've been able to get it to at least the camera to work?
I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I want to write it as a script, because obviously, I mean, it worked with the like direct commands, but I'm trying to figure out how to do it with like a running script.
Yeah, we can do that a few ways, and I can talk to you a little bit about that later if you'd like. And then kind of going into things, I know last week we kind of talked a little bit about leadership on the team and how we're looking for some more roles. None of these, I guess, are extremely final. It's really up to how we want to move people around and like that. And I know some people right now might be working in roles or might be going into roles that they might want to switch out of eventually. But as of now, we still technically don't have an electrical sub-team lead. I've kind of been filling that role for now. And something going into the future, if we do go a lot more into the chemistry and kind of manufacturing our own parasites, we might want to have a special systems sub-team. And I know we've talked to Michael a little bit about that, so that might be a role he's interested in filling. But something else, if we do have anyone that's interested in just putting in a little bit more time, we are still looking for a finance rep. So just balancing some spreadsheets and submitting things to SOFs and ESAB. But yeah, if anyone is interested in any of those things, you can probably reach out to John or I, and we can help figure out where people can go and if they have any other interests and an ability to contribute more to the team. All right. But any other not last minute, but any other updates or anything to say before we kind of talk about just some, general work we need to do?
I'd say tonight at I think 7:30, there's a meeting with all of the Nebraska kids, specifically like the fungi sat team. And the purpose of that is to kind of give them more information about the perovskite solar panels. So if anybody here wants more information on that, they can attend the meeting and get some more knowledge on perovskite panels.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good note. I certainly am going to tune into that so I learn at least a little bit more about parasites. But if no one else has anything else to, if no one else has anything else to add, just looking forward, same meeting times as normal. So every Saturday from 10 to noon, we have our big red CubeSat meetings. And next Saturday, just to keep it on everyone's radar, if you are interested in going, we will be meeting at the SAC Museum from about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's going to be our PDR presentation with the big red CubeSat team. If anyone wants more details on that, you can reach out to me. We're going to have some forms we need to fill out eventually because we are going to be working with kids. We need official university stuff. But Michael, looks like you have a question.
My internet sucks right now. Did you say the date of the PDR?
So that's October 24th. It'll be a week from tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not supposed to carpool technically, but there might be exceptions we can make if needed.
Drive.
Yeah. But yeah, mechanical meetings and electrical work meetings Saturdays at 4 p.m. And electrical also has meetings Tuesdays at 7 p.m. And then our general meeting, of course, Fridays at 6 p.m. And this week we had our EBI meeting on Thursday. So next week we will not have a EBI meeting, I believe. John, I know there's a possibility to meet with the EBI sometime this next week. Have you talked with them at all?
I don't know if it's like actually meeting with them
Okay.
or it's more like just sending them the slides.
All right. Yep, that sounds good. We'll just have to see how that works out. But just for the rest of the meeting, I'm going to stop recording now. Maybe I'm able to figure it out.